Welcome to the third and final episode of my dairy series. In the previous episode, I was telling you about the nutritional benefits from dairy products as long as you can tolerate lactose. But what about those who can't? And what causes lactose intolerance anyway? I'll also give you some ideas on how you can replace common dairy products in your recipes and other foods that can provide the nutritional value you would miss from milk. Let's go! As we saw in the previous video, people who are intolerant don't produce enough lactase to digest lactose. Lactase is the enzyme we need for digesting lactose that's produced in the small intestine. Its job is to break down lactose into two simple sugars, glucose and galactose, which are then absorbed by the bloodstream to be used as energy. Without enough lactase, the lactose moves through the gut undigested, which causes all kinds of uncomfortable digestive discomfort and pain. Lactose is also in breast milk. Actually, it's very rare to see intolerance in children under the age of 5. As I said in the previous video, it's largely linked to ethnicity, which is why some populations tolerate dairy better than others. This is why you will rarely see dairy products used in Asian or African cuisine, for example. About 75% of the world's adult population is intolerant, so it's incredibly common. Sometimes it's inherited, other times it develops later in life due to disease. Symptoms include inflammation, diarrhea, gas, bloating and cramps, and they tend to show up between half an hour or 2 hours after consuming dairy. If you have these symptoms and cut out dairy products for a few days, and you stop having these symptoms, it's quite likely that you're intolerant. You can confirm it with your doctor. They usually check it through a blood sugar test. They have you drink a liquid that's high in lactose and perform a glucose test after 2 hours. If your blood sugar doesn't increase, your body probably hasn't digested the lactose properly. But don't worry if you can't tolerate dairy. The good news is that there's other foods that can provide the nutrients that come from it. In the kitchen, we can find creative, nutritious and natural ways of replacing milk and everything that comes from it. So let's take a look at the main nutrients provided by dairy and how we can find them elsewhere. Calcium is a big one. Sardines have an incredibly high calcium content. Other options are seeds like sesame, poppy and chia, almonds, and some low oxalate dark leafy greens such as kale or collard greens. Liver is another superfood with high quality protein, vitamin A, B12, riboflavin, which are all in milk and much more. Eggs, beef and chicken can also provide these nutrients. When considering dairy alternatives, it's important to watch out for hyper-processed food products that promise to be just like the real thing. But they're often full of sugar and additives that can be damaging to our health. That's why it's so important to check the labels. For milk, I found homemade nut milk to be the best alternative. Coconut milk is also good, but make sure it only contains coconut extract. To replace cheese, nutritional yeast can work pretty well, but there's also cashew and other nut cheeses. Some dairy products are surprisingly low in lactose, so you may want to test your reactions to butter, full-fat probiotic yogurt, kefir and hard cheeses, since they can often be digested by those who are intolerant. This also applies to ghee, which is clarified butter. In the boiling process, the solids, protein and sugar are removed, only leaving the fat from the butter. In the case of butter, depending on what you use it for, it can be generally replaced with coconut or avocado oil, or nut butters. When looking for other options, there's always something you can use, which is why I believe that lactose intolerance shouldn't get in the way of a perfectly delicious meal. If you have any other ideas for dairy-free swaps, share them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching.